Welcome to the Vicis Interimo 30 Minutes to Kill podcast.
You are listening to the Vicis Interimo show, 30 Minutes to Kill. More or less. The incredible podcast with the unpronounceable name.
You are listening to the Vicis Interimo show, 30 Minutes to Kill, More or Less. A horror movie review podcast featuring horror, suspense, and psychological thrillers. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podomatic, just about anywhere. Type in VICISINTERIMO into your favorite search engine, favorite social media site, whatever, wherever you want. Yeah.
I don't know about that. We're not on all social media sites.
Yeah, but it'd be great to see what popped up.
You can find us on Facebook.
You can find us there, sure.
I think we're on Twitter.
Yes, we're definitely on Twitter.
Yeah.
At any rate, our show generally contains 4 segments: Laid to Rest, where we tie up loose ends from previous shows; a short movie review of a featured movie; Garbage In, Garbage Out, where we talk about movies, TVs, shows, or books, or anything we may have caught over the last week or so; and we end with a Crawling Chaos, a topic or factoid that we've never talked about on the show before. Sometimes silly, sometimes serious, most always chaotic. And along the way, we like to thank our patrons at Lonely Bob, Big LV, and Goldafish. And we actually heard from Goldafish recently here.
We did.
She got a chance to see Mom and Dad.
Yes.
That was fun. Well, she enjoyed it. I mean, yeah. I know it was fun for us, but
she saw the humor in there.
Absolutely.
I guess not everybody did.
Not necessarily everybody would.
We certainly did.
We certainly did,
yeah.
For sure. So, anyhow, without any further ado, let's get right into Laid to Rest. So for Laid to Rest, we had covered last week Scary or Die, an anthology of films. Mm-hmm. We have discovered or rediscovered, or those things are very much hit and miss for you, aren't they?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. This one was
I didn't care for it at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So
it was not good for me.
Not good for you. But with that in mind, we also talked about the power of myth and the imposter. The power of myth is, this was one of the things that I wanted to bring it up, or one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up. I think I said that it was, I don't remember who I said that Joseph Campbell would talk about. Joseph Campbell did comparative religion, mythology studies, and so on. And I said that I owned the lectures, but I misquoted and said it was like, I don't know, Mike Wallace or somebody. I don't remember who I said. But it was actually Bill Moyer that sat down and did a whole series of lectures. And
those are the lectures you have?
Those were the lectures that I got on tape.
Okay.
I'm not sure anybody really cares about that.
Nobody cares.
Okay, so let's...
But you have to... it's okay to do edits and... Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow,
even if nobody cared last week, then when they heard it the first time, it's good to know at least the name.
That I caught it, and yes. Well, you know what?
Somebody might be paying attention.
They might be, and
someone might be like, "What a ding dong! That's not who put those lectures together."
So it's important to know that we actually follow up on our own material.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We care.
We care. We do. We care a lot.
That should be it should be like, we care, even if you don't. That should be our new
motto.
Yeah.
I don't know about all that.
New tagline.
But at any rate, I think we should move on and talk about this week's movie, Daybrakers, 2009. So for Daybrakers, the first thing you wanted to record this yesterday, and it's my fault that we didn't. And I bring that up now because I knew immediately upon watching it that I wanted to let it set in a little bit. I wanted to I felt like I needed to do that because something wasn't quite right for me.
Okay.
So I came up with this wonderful mixed metaphor.
Uh-oh.
So if the story of... And maybe I should read the synopsis first.
Well, yes. Tell us what Daybrakers even is.
Okay, so in the mythic year of 2019, a plague... Oh, I'm embellishing slightly here.
The mythic year.
In the year 2019, a plague has transformed almost every human into vampires. Faced with dwindling blood supply, the fractured dominant race plots their survival. Meanwhile, a researcher works with a covert band of vamps on a way to save mankind. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
Okay.
So what I was starting to say...
It's a few different stories in there.
...was if the story of Daybrakers was a nice, slow-moving river, the movie Daybrakers would be the stone skipping across the top of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does.
It's okay, so it's entertaining for what it is and stuff,
right.
But you'd much rather splash around in that river, or you'd rather fish in that river, or you'd rather pull more out of it than this. Having said that, I'm going to skip right to the end.
Okay.
There's more to talk about, and I'm going to say I love the movie. I'm going to give it a 3.5. So that's actually, I liked it, so it's better than that. But, yeah, so I liked the movie, but I had some issues with it. So, anyhow, with that said, let's get into the movie.
Okay, I had the feeling that it was a book or something a lot bigger, and this was just the abbreviated version.
Okay.
Which made me sad.
Okay.
Because I really enjoyed it a lot.
Good.
I needed a lot more, though.
Okay, fair enough. And that's one of the things about this.
So at first I thought your stone skipping metaphor, it's like I think I was thinking you meant something different,
no,
but
you
that can be applied.
You may very well be, because I think it touched on the surface of it. I feel like
it was, yes.
And it skimmed in and it hit the high points.
Yeah.
And this is written and directed by the Spierig brothers, Michael and Peter Spierig.
Okay.
And as soon as the name flashed on the screen, it's like, I should know that for something. I feel like I should know.
So why do we know them?
Undead. The Australian horror film about the zombies. Undead. Love that movie.
Okay.
That had the same issues for me.
I didn't love that movie.
Yes, you did. You liked parts of it, and you really liked the end of it, sort of. Well, you know what? You could actually go back and listen to the podcast, because we did a podcast on it.
I don't think I could stand that.
I guess I won't make you listen to that then.
Sometimes you have to, though. We watch so many movies that sometimes, they can't all be Pontypool.
All right, all right.
There's Pontypool, and then there's...
there's other films.
Then there's, everything else.
So, anyhow, the other movie that they did, or at least Michael Spierig had directed, was he directed Winchester.
Oh,
so
you're just not... Okay, this was an excellent movie then.
Okay.
Oh, dear.
But no, I thought Winchester had some really good things in it. It just wasn't fully developed. And that's the kind of issue that I had with this, except it makes it sound like I didn't enjoy this movie. And I really did. And we really did when, I think, you already said you did. But we had a lot to talk about during it while it was happening.
Well...
and so on. But
you read the synopsis, but what we've got here is, in the movie is from 2009, like you said.
2009, exactly. So I thought it was funny we were watching it in 2019, and that was the mythic year it was supposed to be set.
Yeah, so this is 10 years in the future.
Right.
The future is now.
The near future, yes.
It's an infection movie. Well, so I liked that.
Okay, yeah.
I always like infection movies.
That adds an element of horror.
Well, because it's different. I mean, yeah, okay, it's a vampire movie. Everyone's turning into vampires, but it's like just totally reluctant vampire. Not that most people are like, hey, I'd love to be a vampire. But this is like, you catch it, and most of the population has it. So I loved all of the morality and ethical issues.
Okay.
There was so many things that I kept wanting to stop and talk to you about.
Right.
But it had the, dystopic future thing going on. It had, a giant social problem going on. Like, I love
So,
movies like that already.
The other way that I looked at this and thought about this too is could have been also, or in some ways was, used as a metaphor for a lot of different problems. They could attach very much social issues to it and so on.
Yeah, it was rich and powerful versus the weak, the poor. It had, big pharma going on in there.
Right.
What are the pharmaceutical companies doing? Well, they're keeping us sick so they could sell us crap.
Right.
There were so many things in here. It could have been it was only like an hour and 38 minutes or something.
Right.
It could have been 2 hours and 38 minutes or 3 hours and 30. I think I would have liked it even more.
Well, yes, because that was it. So, and this is
and
the
not
thing
that I always want. I hate a bunch of just social commentary in but this had enough of variety.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like a movie that just like narps on one thing.
Right.
You just get beaten over the head with this one
Right.
issue. This one had like all of the problems that society has.
Right.
So it was interesting.
Okay.
And I loved that, the people who were in control, the people on top, whatever. It's like everybody gets theirs,
Right.
There were problems that they didn't see happening. I liked the chaos of it.
Right.
Because it's like you've always got those people on the top that have all the control. Where there's problems here that they did not see coming. They were not equipped to handle what was actually happening.
Right.
And they were so... I was going to say they were so sure of themselves, but they didn't have... Like, you could see all the problems coming. Like, okay, they're missing these essential parts if they're going to keep their power. And there were just so many good things going on.
So what was interesting to me also was just reading the listing or looking at the jacket, because we did get this from Netflix.
Yeah.
And we don't stream, so
we don't. We're old school.
Yeah. So we still get, or at least we still get Netflix this way. Anyhow. The jacket actually had this listed as a sinister thriller.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It was a sinister thriller.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, with heavy horror.
With heavy horror elements. Okay.
Yeah,
and
because
R rating for language and maybe a little...
Probably the blood and the gore. Yeah, a little bit of... yeah, because it was one of those definitely where while our main hero is a vampire, obviously it's a horror movie, we're watching you forget.
Okay.
I forgot.
No,
that's me though.
Right.
I guess if some people I know who hate horror were watching it, they would not forget they were watching a horror movie.
So, stepping back from it, and the things that I didn't like, and not, again... The things I
you
love,
didn't like?
The stuff I love the most, I tend to pick apart the most also. So I really did enjoy this. I enjoyed it while we were watching it. I liked it. But looking at it, like, I don't think it was horror enough for the horror fans.
Right.
It wasn't sci-fi enough for the sci-fi fans. It wasn't dystopian enough for the end of the world crowd. So it had light elements of all of them. It touched
I love
on
all of those things, and they were all in there. So I enjoyed the crap out of it, but it was too short.
Okay,
it jumped too far. I felt like it had gaps, because it was just moving forward rapidly.
I'm going to point out the criticism that you made at the end of it, which was and this is. I keep interrupting myself. Let me finish a thought. You did. You said it. Okay, now it feels like a comic book. There was one particular...
Oh, just the visual... It was a visual effect.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like... Suddenly it was ridiculous. Yeah.
Suddenly...
now it's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So...
It was one of those times where it's like you're watching this totally unbelievable fantasy, crazy thing, and then like one scene makes you go... Oh, that would never happen.
Exactly. You just saw a dragon eat 12 people, but
everything else totally believable.
Yeah, this isn't going to be that. All right. So anyhow, you obviously enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot too.
Let's talk about our hero.
Our hero is Ethan Hawke. Okay. So
he was a reluctant vampire, and that's not giving anything away because you can tell right away.
Yeah.
He works for a hemoglobin, whatever. What was the name of his company?
I don't even
remember.
Whatever.
He was a scientist, and they're trying to find a good synthetic blood.
Right.
And I'd actually written a note here because you and we watched the series True Blood.
Right.
And True Blood is actually the name of their bottled synthetic blood.
Right.
So I had written here that this is what would happen if True Blood didn't work out.
Okay.
In the series True Blood, they the Japanese successfully made a synthetic blood. Vampires don't have to kill. They don't have to drink real blood. Everything's fine. We could all coexist because we've got this lovely bottled product for them. This movie, it was so great because they could not actually get the thing right.
Right.
So that was their dilemma. So you're either faced with, and man, I saw the problem right away. You either had to be a vampire or you had to be like human cattle.
Livestock, sure.
Yeah, you're just all the humans, the ones that are resistant to being vampire. Well, then we're going to collect you. We're going to hook you up to a machine, and you're going to feed us.
Right. So
you can see the problem already. Way too many vampires, not enough food.
Right, which is always an interesting aspect that you don't necessarily get into because most vampire movies or fiction approach it from the standpoint of they're either controlling themselves by, like Underworld or 30 Days of Night. They're not just making vampires randomly because at some point the nature of this. It was interesting that they passed this off as a disease.
Yeah.
But then I was also fascinated by the pieces of vampire mythology that they chose to follow.
Yeah. That was
I wanted
super
more,
fun.
but I wanted more. So my complaints were I wanted more. Basically.
So it was because of course we were big fans of The Strain, which that was like an infection disease kind of thing. Of course, there was the big vampire, the main,
there's the master,
but they were sick, quote unquote. They were sick. It was an infection that you carry. But so a lot of the our traditional vampire garlic and no reflection in the mirror and wooden stakes, all of that stuff. Though the wooden stakes
seem to
silver
work here.
worked on them. I'm thinking of The Strain though.
Yeah. Oh.
But The Strain was very different. It was treated much more like it was an illness.
Right.
But this, in Daybrakers, it was an illness. It was a sickness. But yeah, like you said, no reflection in the mirror. Like it had the really cool classic things that I love about vampires.
So okay, how do you work that into? Maybe The Strain spoiled me for that because now I want to know. Okay, so purportedly,
how did it start and all that?
The mirror. You can't cast a reflection of the mirror because they don't have a soul, or there's different rationale. There's different reasons for this. No direct sunlight, but you can be in the shade. But so I wanted more clear definitions of the rules.
Was this a book? We should have. I feel like this is
like I said, this was written. I don't see this being as listed as a book.
They did a great job, and now it's time for him to start working on that grand novel, and then redo this movie, and make it a trilogy and make it awesome.
Yeah, I didn't see anywhere this was adapted from anything else, but maybe it was.
Didn't it have that feel?
It did have that feel to it, though, and that's what I was talking about it skipping along the surface of it, because there was so much more to explore.
Yeah. And I loved him. We had Ethan Hawke played Edward, the scientist, and he'd never had human blood. He will not drink human blood.
Right.
So I enjoyed that. I kept going back to that. I kept thinking, okay, so if you really have a choice, some people don't have a choice. You maybe just get bit if someone decides to bite you. That's kind of what happened to Edward.
Yeah.
But they made it sound like, well, you're either with us or against us. It's up to you. That's how it sounded.
Right.
So I kept thinking, well, what kind of person would decide? Because, he had such good morals and such a high ethical standard. Right. He felt horrible, like farming the humans and stuff.
Right.
Like he was very much against that. You could see the anguish and the struggles that he faced, and I loved that about him.
Okay. He didn't get a little whiny like Louis in an Interview with the Vampire.
Whiny? he was very weak. Like you could, I kept thinking, oh man, this is our hero, and he's very weak. Like he can't fight. He can't. Not that that's okay. If you can't fight, it's okay. But it was interesting. He was a very interesting character to me.
Okay.
And seeing how he felt about things and what he was working towards. He wanted to save the like. Why do we have to do this to the humans? Because they go out and they round you up.
Right.
If they find you, they round you up.
They round you up. There's only 5% of humans that are left and stuff.
Yeah.
No, we didn't even talk about the fact that Willem Dafoe is in here. We didn't talk about the fact that Sam Neill is in here.
Yeah.
And
a lot of great people.
A lot of great people in here. Even more people that you would recognize from movies. Oh, it's that guy. You know what I mean?
I'm kind of trying to figure out how this one got by us.
Because
in 2009, arguably that was a very busy year for us.
That's true.
We moved back to LA from up north, and we weren't seeing a lot of movies.
Yeah.
It might have come out.
I heard about this afterwards and was familiar with it from other podcasts, from Horophilia and from a couple others. Might have even been from, was it? I don't know whether I saw it on Dread Central or anyhow. There were kind of a lackluster response from a lot of people. And that's what I was saying earlier about horror. Like, it wasn't hardcore horror enough for horror fans.
And I think it's also partly for some of the reasons that we talked about.
Yeah.
It just seemed like it was an abbreviated version of something.
Right.
It needed to delve in a little deeper in all those areas.
But having said that, I think it's a good starter film, that intermediate horror things. If you want to introduce this to somebody else that isn't into horror per se, well, it's like, hey, check this out. I don't know. Maybe not. Depends on, you know your friends better than we do.
How'd you like the horror scenes, the monsters?
It was
and the
good. It was good. There was a couple of CG things that I kind of went like, ew.
Really?
There was a couple of misses there for me. But not so much that it took me out of the movie or anything. You know what I mean? It did for a second because I went, But, yeah, there was a couple of jump scares, a couple of things, you know what I mean? So it covered all the bases. And I felt like I
feel like everything was in there.
My complaint was it covered everything just thinly.
Too fast.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, there were things called the subsetters.
Yeah.
So what that is if you don't get your blood,
you start to regress.
You start to change.
And become Nosferatu.
Yeah. You get very ugly and a little angry. So we saw the problem there. It was like, you see somebody right out of the gate. You see a homeless man who's on the street starving with his little sign.
Yep.
And he's not looking so hot. He looks more monstrous than human. Yeah. So he's rounded up and taken in by the vampires.
Yeah.
So it had me hooked from the beginning, from that
opening shot.
Because I was like, wait, who's in control here? They just snagged a vampire off the street. So there's still humans that are the vampires are catching the vampires.
Yeah, that's bad for business.
It's like a tier. There's the humans and the vampires, but there's different levels of vampire.
Sure.
Are you the nice, civilized, are you sipping your blood from a wine glass that you got from a human farm? Or, are you out attacking and biting other vampires?
Right.
Which that will happen too.
Yeah, that's not good because...
And that was a whole nother kind of a subset.
Yeah.
Because there's the ones that are just straight up starving and you start to change and then you're crazy and they can't control you and they have to take you out.
Right.
Or there's ones that will bite themselves if they're hungry enough. So they're they're poisoning themselves by chewing on other vampires or on themselves.
Right.
Then they turn into something even worse.
Right.
So it was like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. What's going to happen next?
So when I called them Nosferatu, I was thinking more of the subset from...
Yeah, you shouldn't insult the Nosferatu.
Hey, what the heck. I'm talking about the from the Vampire the Masquerade game, or
that's what
the Masquerade the TV show. Because there was that brief one. I guess only did one season, maybe 2 seasons.
I have no idea.
We have not seen that together. I thought for sure we watched that together.
It's based on the game?
Based on the game. The role-playing game that we're playing. Anyhow, we're going on about this with ourselves at this point. So, what's your recommendation on this one? What's your number and what's your recommendation?
Oh, heck, I don't know. Well, it's definitely a strong 4. I wish I could go high. I want it to go higher, but I need more. It wasn't enough for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I definitely, I would recommend it, and I give it a 3.5.
Yeah, I would recommend it to any fan of any of these things we talked about.
Right. It's funny because I looked on Wikipedia I got the synopsis from there, and I'm also looking at the other 6 movies that they recommend.
Right.
And it's funny because it's Priest, 30 Days of Night, Legion, The Crazies, Undead, and Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Were like their top 6 recommends.
Okay, you had me till the end, but...
What?
Yeah,
you didn't like... that was good.
It was okay.
Yeah. And then Pandorum was the other one that they suggested.
Pandorum
but all movies that
awesome.
we saw. Okay.
Pandorum is great. Priest is great. Priest, I needed more also.
Right.
What were some other ones you said?
Undead, which was good. Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
No, the first ones.
Oh, the first one. I said Priest and I said Crazies and 30 Days a Night.
30 Days of Night and Crazies. Yes, we both liked both of those.
Right.
Yeah, 30 Days of Night is great. In fact, I kept thinking of it while we were watching this.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure why. I think just because it was like a quality movie.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
But that's
taking the vampire story, arguably traditional subject anyway, and looking at it in a different light, through a different lens.
Because I kept thinking, what fun would it be to watch Daybrakers and 30 Days of Night, like do a double feature?
Right.
Like those are 2 I would want to watch together at the same time. Both very different. Different from each other and different from traditional vampire
because
stories.
They had former young heartthrobs of like Ethan Hawke and what's his name? Oh, see, I blew that one. What's his?
No.
Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett. He's adorable. But no.
Okay.
No, there are things to love about both those movies.
All right. So, having said that, I think we need to move on now.
Yeah, let's move on.
Garbage in, garbage out. Not a whole lot to talk about on Garbage In, Garbage Out.
Well, last week I mentioned that I was starting to read a book, and then I never talked about it.
Okay.
I haven't gotten very far into it yet, though, so I can't really tell you much about it, but it's called American Rust.
American Rust. Okay. What's that about?
I don't know. I need to read it.
Okay. I guess I was thinking that you.
Well, so far I've got a town in the Midwest, an old.
I guess I was just going for. Is it a novel? Is it
It's a novel.
Is it a piece of fiction or?
Well, it's fiction. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a kind of book I don't normally pick up, but I picked it up at the thrift store for 50 cents.
Okay. I was going to wonder how you got something like this.
Yeah, I just kind of. It seemed like a different kind of. I wanted to say a light read.
Right.
Light for me.
Okay.
I guess.
Gotcha. Well, so as far as watching, what I've been watching is I've been watching a lot of stuff on chroma key or green screening or blue screening, depending how you want to look at it. For this other project, obviously for Temple's Apprentice,
because you saw Queen Elizabeth in her green screen outfit.
No.
And you wanted to play with, you wanted to get in on that.
That very easily could have been our Crawling Chaos, so I'll have to include that link, though. But no, I wasn't looking to get in on that. I was looking to get in on purchasing a green screen, a background, but I needed software.
Well, maybe if anybody out there has any suggestions for you.
That would be true. Yes, that would be good. You could always give me those on Facebook, because Facebook group is probably the best place to find us there. But anyhow, that was really about it for Garbage In, Garbage Out.
It's terrible.
It's terrible, but
I watched some of the Women's World Cup soccer this past week.
Okay.
You watched a little bit.
I watched a very little bit of it with you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been watching some things. I've been listening to a lot of radio.
Okay.
I listen to Coast to Coast AM, and I'm actually a Coast Insider, which I've mentioned before, so I could listen to it any time of day. But yeah, I downloaded a bunch of shows onto my MP3 player, so
All right.
I get to hear all kinds of fun stuff on there. I listen to that while I'm working.
All right.
So yeah, I haven't done a lot of watching. Yes, I'm still playing Skyrim.
I wasn't going there.
That's okay.
You chose to. I'm not.
I will say it.
All right.
I play Skyrim every evening, so there's that. That's what I'm watching. But yeah, I'm listening to a lot of different things during the day, though.
All right.
Yeah.
With that note, let's move on to our Crawling Chaos.
So today, I get my little Mother Nature Network newsletters every morning in my email box.
Right.
And something caught my eye.
What was that?
Well, it was something about a creature who eats rocks and poops sand. Maybe you didn't say it quite like that.
Okay. You got my attention now.
Yeah, it maybe didn't say it quite like that. But yeah, these biologists studying some rivers in the Philippines found just this one real small stretch of river. They found a completely new species there. They're calling it a clam, but it looks kind of like a... I'm making a motion like with my hands because everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Well, for you, they're about so big.
Uh-huh.
The size of a large gherkin.
Okay.
Maybe 5 or 6 inches long.
Uh-huh.
I'll put the link.
Yeah.
So people can check it out. But yeah, it kind of looks like a translucent, kind of like a worm kind of thing. But it's loosely related to the clam family. But they actually didn't have for those that like to classify their animals, they didn't have a genus where it even fit. It wasn't close enough to anything they've ever found before. So they actually made a whole new genus for it, and then they added a species underneath that. But it just lives in a real short stretch of river, not found anywhere else. They're related to ever heard of the worms that will eat the ships? That eat wood.
Okay, yeah.
They will, like, back in the, back before there was metal ships and stuff.
Right.
Hundreds of years ago, ships, they had to always worry about these worms that would get in and eat holes through their ships.
Right.
These things are very closely related to those, but they literally bore their way through solid rock. And when they're dissected and they look at the contents of their little slimy bellies, it's rock. They're eating rocks.
Wow.
So they're like, what?
That sounds like a Pokemon or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A rock biter.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, they're just starting to study them, and they're trying to learn about them, because even things like earthworms eat dirt.
Right.
So you go, well, what the heck? They eat dirt? Like, what are they getting out of that? But there's tons of microscopic bacteria and fungus. They get a ton of food out of the dirt, and then they poop out the dirt, right? Okay. But these things, there's nothing in the rock. They're just, the spice must flow.
Okay.
But yeah, these things are literally eating rock and pooping sand, and there's no nutrients or bacteria or funguses or plants, or there's nothing in the rock that they're eating.
Wow, this is it's moving into some Buckaroo Banzai 8th dimension crap. I don't know.
So I was reading about these things today. It was kind of fun.
All right.
So I'll have the link for that. You can put it in the show notes.
Okay, I will include those then.
For those interested in crazy new animals being discovered.
Yeah.
And for those interested in evolution, which I absolutely love. I mean, the fact that an animal like this evolved in this one little stretch of river.
Yeah.
Like these perfect conditions to make this perfectly weird little thing that can only live right there. It's amazing.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. On that note, I think we killed it.
I think so.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Okay.
Okay.
I was trying to browse my notes to see if there was anything. It's funny because I wrote a lot of things in quotations, like things that characters said.
Right.
I don't know why I was writing all that down.
Okay.
The one lady yelling about we can't feed our families and we have to feed these creatures too. And it's like, lady, you're a vampire and you're calling these other
vampires.
these creatures. Yeah, when
Well,
you start seeing the vampires go into those subsets.
Like I said, there's plenty of real life to pull into this, and if you care to analyze it that way too.
Yeah.
So, on that note...